And you thought Halloween Ends was a franchise disaster. Well, Rob Zombie, he has a story he wants to tell you. Let's go. Welcome to the channel, and yeah, we've got a really good conversation to have. For all of you folks that are Halloween fans of the franchise, and especially for you guys that have issues with Halloween Ends or Halloween Kills or even Halloween 2018, there's an article that just came out, and it's from Rob Zombie, an interview that he had where he is literally talking about his experience with his Halloween film from 2007 and his H2 film from 2009. And I think this really gives us a sense of what it's like to make a film and have so much studio interaction and issues and problems, and then what happens with the final product and how you actually look at your own films or even the franchise. Rob Zombie literally has issues with his own movies because of the studio interference, and I think it's a really interesting story to talk about for all of us as Halloween fans that sometimes don't get a sense of the behind the scenes. Fortunately, and that's what I love to do, is try to bring that to you guys because it really interests me. But we're talking about an article from Screen Rant. And the article starts off by saying why Rob Zombie returned for Halloween 2 despite 2007's miserable experience. Wow. And here we go, guys. This is literally from the interview. It says there's a reason Rob Zombie came back for Halloween 2. The director, producer, and writer of the 2007 remake of Halloween, Zombie put together a slasher revolving around the monstrous Michael Myers, played by Tyler Mane, as he hunts down high school student Laurie Strode, played by Scout Taylor Compton. While Halloween was a complete success, Zombie was reluctant to return to the project after experiencing an unprofessional environment during the shooting of the first movie. In an interview on the Howie Mandel Does Stuff podcast via comicbook.com, Zombie explained why he bothered to return at all for Halloween 2. The director revealed that if he wanted to get out of his deal without facing legal and professional consequences for it, he would have to finish off what he started by directing Halloween 2, but wouldn't be held hostage for a third movie. And, you know, that's the interesting thing, too, because he actually had a 3-picture deal. And a lot of times, folks, myself included, really were curious what he was planning to do with Halloween 3. Because with Halloween 2, and I've talked about this on the channel many times, if you haven't checked out our deep dive discussion on Halloween 2 and so forth, check out our Halloween playlist, which is packed full of a lot of Halloween franchise goodness. But Halloween 2, to me, had some good things in it. It also has some things in it that I didn't think worked as well for a Halloween film. That being said, it's a really great slasher film, and there's some great kills in it. Tyler Mane was absolutely a beast. I think Scout did a hell of a job playing Laurie Strode and dealing with the trauma and the after effects of the attack from the previous movie. I think that everyone, and especially Brad Dourif, was fantastic, absolutely amazing. I love Brad Dourif in Halloween 2. And also, big shout out to Danielle Harris. I think she was so good in this movie, and it made me yearn for her to come back as Jamie Lloyd. And hopefully that's where the franchise is going to go after a little bit of a hiatus. They'll come back to do something that is angling off of Halloween now with an adult Jamie Lloyd. I think that would be fantastic. But anyways, getting back to Rob Zombie and his experience with Halloween 2, this is his own quote from his mouth. He says, "I go to make the sequel, which I refused to do at first because I just want it out of my contract because I wanted to kill myself." Man, that is, wow, that is horrible to hear. He says, "I had a 3-picture deal. Then a couple years later, they had fired 12 different directors for Halloween 2. So I came back. I'll direct it if you let me out of the 3rd picture. So I don't have to do 3 pictures. Let me out of the deal and I'll do it." So I go to shoot that, and Bob Weinstein comes onto the set. He's showing me the trailer for my Halloween as if I've never seen it. And he goes, "Every frame of this movie's fucking genius." This is the same guy who said, "Every frame in this movie I fucking hate." Yeah, you know, and again, guys, this This just goes to show what happens behind the scenes. And I think when we think of movies, fair or not, they are open to criticism and sometimes very passionate criticism from passionate fans. And we are all very passionate as Halloween fans. As much as I've talked about the things that I didn't think hit very well in Halloween 2, there are a lot of things that I know were very effective. And I know that Rob Zombie can direct good movies, and I've seen them. I'm a fan of a lot of his movies. And this just gives us behind the scenes look at it. And I'll be quite honest with you, I had heard some of the things that he dealt with behind the scenes. And I had seen an interview he had done a while back where he was talking about how miserable he was. But hearing his exact words like this and talking about how he felt, during the movie's shooting and stuff like that, it really makes me feel bad for him. It really, really does. Because, I think directors, they don't go into a movie thinking or hoping to make a horrible film. And we all know that. They go in trying to do the best they can. Unfortunately, so many directors, like Rob Zombie in this situation, and we know, most notably, directors like Wes Craven, dealing with so much studio interference behind the scenes. It's absolutely, it's atrocious hearing this, because I'd rather just see the director do what they want to do. And if I like the movie, great. And if I don't, that's fine. But when you hear about studio interference and them, and this is all in a negative way I'm talking about, and it changes not only what the director wants to do, but in some ways hinders what the director wants to do. I think that's too bad, because I would rather just see what the director's going to do and then judge it based on that. The article goes on to say there's a good reason for Zombie wanting to get out of Halloween 2 and a potential Halloween 3 after a fraught production experience caused him to absolutely hate his own horror franchise. He pronounced that creating Halloween was a miserable experience. The actors never knew what to do on set, and the director himself was constantly facing disagreement and contradictory ideas from the executive producers. Returning for Halloween 3 would be more nightmare-inducing than Michael Myers' worst attack. Even the day of release for Halloween was fraught for Zombie, who endured criticism about low numbers before the theaters had even opened. According to Zombie, the producers were also constantly fighting among themselves about the project, which created a somewhat toxic environment. At a certain point, Zombie started to lie to them about the Halloween 2 production schedule, solely to prevent future interference. His experience with Halloween eventually led Zombie to give up on the franchise entirely. He still hasn't watched the new Halloween movies because he just can't bring himself to care for Halloween anymore. It makes sense that he would want limited involvement with the franchise after his experience on set, and it certainly explains why he was willing to return solely to get out of his contract after Halloween 2. Now, guys, this article, this interview, it's kind of sad, man. It really is sad. And again, this is an example of a director who was a huge Halloween fan, a fan of the franchise, fan of John Carpenter and so forth. And now he's basically in a situation where he's lost his enjoyment of it. He's lost his love for the franchise, which is sad. I hope he finds that love for the franchise again, just for himself, just as me being a horror fan to another horror fan. I think that really sucks when someone else can make you lose your enjoyment of a movie or a franchise for whatever reason. It's just really too bad. And the fact that he's kind of lost love and respect for his own films in a way because of the experience he went through, that speaks a lot. And I think that to piggyback that to the current trilogy, which has had its ups and downs and it's very divisive, and we've talked about those films many times with you guys in the comment section, and hopefully we'll continue to do that, and also on live streams. But from everything that I've heard, when we've talked to James Jude Courtney, we've talked to Michelle Dawson from Ends, and it seems as though everyone on set for these three movies, if nothing else, at least we're civil. We've heard that it's much better than that it felt like a family, a very teamwork atmosphere. So I think a lot of people that have talked about this trilogy going to Blumhouse and how, Blumhouse has destroyed Halloween and David Gordon Green has destroyed Halloween. Fine, if that's how you feel, that's your opinion. But just think back to 2009 when Halloween 2 came out, and there was just so much divisiveness back then. I remember it. I was right there after seeing it and talking to people and hearing things, what people said. And the worst part about it is the director himself had gone through what seems like hell trying to get this movie done just to get out of the contract. He literally directed this movie without his soul into it. And that's no knock on Rob Zombie. He was in a situation that seems virtually impossible. He didn't want to have to deal with legal issues and being sued and those types of things if he reneged on his contract. That's a horrible position to be in. And looking at the trilogy we just got, if nothing else, it seems as though that David Gordon Green told the stories that he wanted to tell, and he had people around him and involved with the process, including John Carpenter, who were on board, and nobody was, slamming each other and stopping each other's creative freedom and so forth. So I at least want to give them credit for that. Whether people enjoy the movies or not, that's a different story. But I'll tell you what, hearing Rob Zombie talk about this, hearing what he said, his quotes and so forth, it really makes sense, because in Halloween 2, there are some questionable things going on with how some things were characterized, and there's also a palpable sense of anger and rage and hate. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying that Rob Zombie didn't intentionally want that. But look, man, anyone that deals with a horrible working environment, that seeps into your work. You know what I mean? And it seeps into the actors as well, because like he said himself, the actors are on set, they don't know what's going on, they're back and forth, the producers are right there getting their hands into it, messing things up. I can't even imagine how disappointing that must have been for Rob Zombie. So I'm not sitting here saying, okay, well, since he had a horrible directing experience on the movies, that makes the movies good or great. I still have my opinion on them. I do enjoy his first Halloween movie, and I think there are some things in Halloween 2 that are pretty good. But overall, I'm not the biggest fan of it franchise-wise, but it's a great slasher film. I just wish they had let him just do what he was going to do. Let him direct the damn movie. They hired him for a role, and it's like, let him do it. Unfortunately, that's not the way it was back then. At least now with Blumhouse, and Jason Blum is well known for letting the directors and the creatives work. Let them have their vision. So if nothing else, I have to give them credit on that, as far as allowing David Gordon Green and his team to do these movies the way they wanted to do. And hopefully that is how Halloween will continue to be into the future, at least for the next iteration of Halloween movies or trilogy or single movie, whatever it is. I just hope that there's not studio interference, and I just hope that whoever's involved, the actors, the creatives, they can just do their freaking job. It's crazy to think that Rob Zombie would have to go through that, especially with, at that point when he was directing the first Halloween, he had good reputation. He obviously was very creative and successful in his own right. So it's just crazy. But then again, they did the same thing with Wes Craven. So if studios can interfere with a Wes Craven movie, they can interfere on anyone's movie. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this. I think it was very interesting to hear Rob Zombie talk about his experience, and gives me a greater understanding as a fan of why things happened the way they did in the movie, and it really puts it all in the big picture for me. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give me your thoughts. Are you a fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2? Does this make you look at the franchise any different? Does it make you look at the David Gordon Green trilogy a little bit differently? Let me know, and don't forget to hit the like button. It helps to support the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, do it now. This is the time, and we've got a lot to talk about, and hopefully you guys will join me for more of that, and also on live streams. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.